All right, you guys, you are in for a treat today. I have a very special guest to talk about the thing that we usually find not so fun, which is our finances. But I promise you this episode is jam-packed with amazing stuff that you're going to actually understand and be able to start doing today. So I'm excited to have my friend Kristine on to talk about making sense of your sense. We're going to talk bookkeeping, we're going to talk accounting, but don't freak out, don't tune out. You're actually going to walk away less stressed, I promise you. So stay tuned, but first, let's hear the intro. I overthink, I overshare, and I overanalyze. So come explore with me as I chat about business, life, and relationships, all through the lens of an anxious creative. Welcome back to the Anxious Creative Podcast. I'm so excited to be here with Kristine Miguel. She is an amazing lady. You guys are going to have so much fun listening in or watching wherever you're tuning in. But Kristine, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Awesome. So, like you said, I'm Kristine Miguel, and I am an accountant. So, officially, if you must know my technical background stuff, I have a Bachelor of Commerce from University of Calgary, and then I did my CPA, which back then was a CA, and so anyway, that's another topic. Do you want to know? No. So CAs are chartered accountants, and then there were three different they
melded it all together.
Yeah, types of accountants, and then they just merged it. I think I don't even remember one.
Is that a Canadian thing that happened or an international?
No, Canadian thing. Yeah. So
okay.
only Canada probably had the three different types of accountants, and then they were like, what the heck are we doing? Let's just merge everybody so it's the same. So we are all now CPAs, so that's that.
Yeah, I remember hearing, because my brother and sister-in-law are accountants, and I don't know if it was them telling me, but somebody who had gone through and gotten their CA was kind of bummed when they merged everything together. Yeah. But it's still good. You have a lot behind you. You also teach a lot.
So I taught in university, University of Lethbridge, so post-secondary level. I taught accounting, which sounds super boring, but I make it really fun. So, and my students, I think they had a blast, maybe.
Yeah. I think when people hear accounting and bookkeeping right away, and I don't want you guys to do this, is they to, especially us anxious creative types, we tune out, glaze over, and we start to get a little bit sweaty, being oh no, I'm not going to understand this.
Yeah. Well, that's how I feel when people talk about creative things, and I'm just blend in the background, I don't know. I don't know.
And that's why I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today, because I came to a class of yours, and it was the first time that I listened to an accountant that it actually made sense, and I didn't feel like I was leaving more confused. And I know you guys totally get it too, is that bookkeeping and accounting was the number one thing that stressed me out in my business. It was the thing that freaked me out about even starting my own business. And it's the number one thing each and every tax year that made me want to just go get a job at a retail store and not be an entrepreneur.
So you don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, so many times I felt like I'm not cut out for this entrepreneurial thing because I can't make sense of all this.
Yeah.
And so you teach entrepreneurs. I'll let you explain.
Yeah, so that's fine. So you kind of touched on this. So my tagline is make sense of your sense, or make your sense make sense. But you're not going to make sense. You're going to make millions. So, right? But we start small, sense. So essentially, I teach small business owners and entrepreneurs to get organized. And and I'm such an organized person, or I'd like to think. And I think it's really key to just kind of, before you even think of oh my gosh, I have these taxes to file, these things to do, you just have to start small and start from the very beginning and get your foundation right before you can really do anything else.
I love that you say that, because inside of my program Rock Your Business, the very first module is building a strong foundation. Yes. And it's something I teach all of my students. It's if you don't, I use houses as examples. If you build a house with a shit foundation, it'll look beautiful, but it'll fall apart and you'll have to rebuild it. But if you have a strong foundation, you might need to do some renos, but the house stays standing.
Yeah. And I guess the key there is you're not going to build your own house. You're going to ask for help. People are going to help you to build the foundation. You're not alone, which I think that's also what makes people anxious, is who can I talk to? And there are so many great accountants out there. Yeah. There's also a few really not good ones. You know what I mean.
Yeah. But community is so important. Yeah.
I think set your foundation with the proper people.
Absolutely. And I know for so many years in my business, so I went out on my own in 2010, and I'd avoid thinking about my finances and my money and my bookkeeping and my accounting, and then tax time would come and I'd think about it and I'd think like, I must be the only entrepreneur that doesn't get this. I must be the only one with this shoebox. And part of my story is my first year in business. I thought I was rolling in the money. I was like, all of a sudden I was like, look at all this money coming in. Like, it's all mine. Like, why did I ever work for someone else? This is amazing. And then I got hit with a $20,000 tax bill. Yes. And I was like, oh yeah, it was really nice when that came automatically off my paycheck.
Yeah, no, that's totally. And that is, so I just want to tell you that you are not alone in this, because everybody that comes to me for help is in the same exact situation, and I'm like, and they look at me like, I'm so sorry, like I failed, right? Like I can't believe I let it get this far, and I'm like, it's fine. You're like the 10th person this week to tell me this, so
and I think that's
it's not even
because I've gone to accountants where I'm like, is this normal? And they'll be like, and I'm like, nah, just let me know.
Feel better.
Make me feel normal. And so going to your class that you host, I know you do stuff online as well, but you also do in-person classes here in Calgary. And you guys, it was
my in-person is my favorite though.
Yeah,
absolute
there
favorite.
Is something really beautiful about like being right with people and connecting with them.
Yeah.
So I want you guys to know that you don't need to stress out if it doesn't make sense to you. We've got Kristine to help us. So, all right, let's get into a little bit of nitty gritty stuff, because we've got her here. We can ask her questions, and we don't have to feel that. This is the thing that I've always been scared to ask my accountant questions, because I don't want to look dumb and I don't want to feel stupid. And I feel like as an entrepreneur, I need to like have this look like I've got my shit together. And I really love doing my job because it's fun, and I want to I teach ship out the stuff that you're not good at. If you guys have been in some of my webinars, I talk about I spent 6 hours frustrated at trying to figure out my bookkeeping when I could have been in the salon for 6 hours making more money.
Totally.
And so that's something to keep in mind. But what I did learn when I came to your class was I still need to understand it.
Yeah.
And for the last 10 years, you guys, no word of a lie, I got bits and pieces of it. But coming to your class was the eye-opener of yes, a good entrepreneur knows how to delegate, but they also need to understand it first.
Yes. And
so,
I'm so happy you said that, because that is, sorry, did you have
no, that's
I like to interrupt.
Me too.
So but essentially, you can ship it all out. So there's two kinds, you can ship it out or you can do it yourself. But either way, you need to understand what your reports are spitting out, what is even happening, so that you can make, as a business owner, the most important thing that you have to do is decision making. So if you don't understand where you're at today, I know you know where you want to be in the future, but what's the in between? How are you going to make that happen?
Yes, and us creatives are visionary people where we see this is where I want to be. I have no idea the steps to get there.
Yeah, exactly. So even just understanding a little bit of the background, the backbone of accounting and bookkeeping and your finances, you'll be way more equipped and ready to take on, you'll know what to do today to get to where you want to be tomorrow.
I love it. So what is the number one struggle of entrepreneurs that you see when it comes to bookkeeping and accounting?
Oh man, this is a hard question, because I feel there's so many things that people struggle with, including myself, but I think honestly it's literacy, financial literacy,
being able to read their P&L statement. And if you guys don't know what a P&L statement is, that's okay too. I didn't either. Profit and loss.
So financial literacy is essentially knowing how to look at your numbers so you can make decisions. So that's the most basic. So without financial literacy, you wouldn't even know what to do. And what ends up happening is, because you're let's say you're looking at this financial P&L, your statements, and you're I have no idea what this is telling me. It's reading a completely different language.
Yeah.
So you're I'm just gonna leave this, and that leads eventually to procrastination. And that's how your anxiety, because you keep procrastinating, because you don't understand, that's what ends up happening. And so I know the question is, what's the number one struggle? But it's essentially financial literacy in order for you to get unstuck so you don't procrastinate.
Yeah, and I talk a lot about the anxious procrastination
Yeah.
where like you actually use up the same amount. I read somewhere and I don't have the actual stats, but by procrastinating something, you actually use up the same amount of energy it would take to do it.
To do it, yeah.
And I'll like sit and stress and be anxious, even if something's fun and exciting, but I know I have to like work to do it. Yeah. I'll avoid it and then I'll be exhausted by it. And then when I go do it, I'm like, that took me, I actually posted on Instagram not too long ago, like stop wasting your hours on thinking about the stuff that'll take you minutes.
It's so true. And you've heard of that, like that saying where if it takes you less than 1 minute, just do it. So it's almost like a habit that you're forming. So it's like, if it takes you 1 minute to put your coat in the hanger, then just do it. Don't put it on the chair.
Yeah, oh my
gosh.
It's
almost like...
She knows us.
It's because I struggle with this myself. It's like, I finish eating. I leave the plate there because I'm like, I'm just going to fix, like, I'll put it away later. But then it's like, no, it takes literally 20 seconds to put it in the dishwasher. My husband, I'm talking to you. And 20 seconds to put it in the dishwasher, then it's done. And then you don't come back to it later and waste even more energy to be like, oh no, it piles up, right?
And so I know I'm not the only one, and I know like a lot of the anxious creatives out there struggle with this too, is that we like challenges. And so if it's something that doesn't seem challenging and it's menial, we're like, meh, we don't want to do it. But that's so good. And you know what? One year, I'm not a person who does Lent or anything. Yeah. But when everyone was like, I'm giving up this for Lent, one year I decided, I think it was 2012, I gave up laziness.
Oh, that's
smart. And so I told myself when I came home from work, I wasn't allowed to sit down before I did the things I needed to do.
Yes.
Because as soon as I sit down, I'm toast.
Yeah.
And like throwing my jacket over the couch, it doesn't take that much more effort. And I know we're going off of bookkeeping.
I know, but
it's
anyway.
so true. Like putting your receipts in at the end of every day. It might take you 10 minutes. But then at tax season, you're not sitting at your kitchen table for 3 days, sorting through, trying to see the faded date on these receipts.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally. And again, like taking the 10 minutes at the end of the week or whatever to empty out your wallet and take care of your receipts will save you money in the long run, because not only are you sitting there at year end kind of like looking through these faded receipts for 5 hours, you're also gonna have to pay, or you'll be like, by that point you're so overwhelmed, you're willing to pay somebody thousands and thousands of dollars to scan through your receipts when you could have done it for 10 minutes per week for free. Yeah. And be done with it.
Totally.
Easier said than done.
And I want you guys to know, like, I know you're probably like, yes, this is so good. I should do that, but I'm already in a bad habit. Yeah. And so I want you guys to know it takes time to save time. And so you might have to carve out some time and like attending a class where there's built-in time to work on these things and there's accountability. I know that's huge. I'll like put it in my diary or something, but if I don't have to like be somewhere and someone's watching me.
Oh yeah. And
so finding community and connection with people that are going to help support you is huge.
It's
right?
huge. So just like a quick background on what she's talking about, like for my class.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay. So let me tell you about it. So I actually got inspired to bring this class to Calgary by someone from Toronto. Her name is Lisa Zamparo. She's an amazing, amazing lady, but she had this idea, so I can't really like get full credit. So essentially, you come to my class, I teach you the basics, and then after the presentation, we sit down for 3 hours or 2 hours to actually get shit done. And I will watch you. And I mean, it's not because like, it kind of sounds weird and you're like, why are we wasting 3 hours of our day? And that's because I guarantee you will not do it without someone there, and you will get stuck along the way. But by coming to the class and actually sitting down, having an expert by your side, kind of go through, get you unstuck, your productivity will skyrocket.
Huge, because once again, I know my students and I know you guys watching are the kind of people that are addicted to learning. Like, I love learning new things. I really suck at implementing them.
I love them. Yeah.
So so I love like going to a class and like learning something new, and I'm like, yes, let's do this. Oh my goodness. Oh yes, like and then if that built-in implementation time is so amazing.
Yeah.
And because it forces you to actually apply what you've learned.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because if you don't apply what you learned, it's useless.
Yeah, it's kind of sadly it's useless, and you'll just forget like what it is. So having that built-in implementation time, like really will just like catapult you to your productivity
Totally.
later, because you can actually practice a few things with like kind of troubleshooting built in.
Yeah.
And then also the best part that I think, like I also offer accountability sessions after, because
Love
if
it.
people, let's say you were in a really bad place and you had so many receipts and that's all you got to do during the working session is organizing the receipts, chances are when you go home, that's all you would have done and you won't do anything else.
Right.
So after a couple weeks later, I usually offer an accountability session to check up on where you've been, where you're at, and like how, like your progress basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I've got a few more questions I want to ask you, but I know there's already a lot of people wondering, like, I don't live in Calgary.
Yes.
But you're my person already because they relate to you and they're like, she's already making sense. What do you have stuff? I know you're coming out with some things really soon. Like you're going to be having stuff that people outside of the city can kind of find that accountability and stuff with?
Yes, so I'm actually, my signature course, which is Bookkeeping Bootcamp, I'm not trying to, I will. I'm going to have that online very soon. So it's basically just like the in-person course, but without like the lunch and without the well, actually, I was going to say without the dance party, but we can still have a dance party.
I have online dance parties all the time.
Amazing, right?
So
Why
good.
not? Why
Maybe
not?
we should have one right now.
I think
There's
we
no
should.
music. Yeah. I guess anybody who's listening.
Oh, sorry. We're
you
doing
guys are going to have to go over to YouTube and see our sweet dance moves.
So essentially, this signature course will be online, hopefully in the next, it'll be online.
A couple months from now.
And then you get a chance to experience it, online.
So basically what we're saying is, you guys, at the end of this episode, I'm going to have all of Kristine's info for you can go find her on social media, on her website and everything like that. You want to go follow her and connect with her right away because she's like our savior.
Yeah.
Truly.
So thank you so much. Like that means a lot, honestly.
Yeah, because I know there's so many, like there is a lot of Calgary people that tune in, but so many people beyond Calgary that you're going to be able to help, which is going to be amazing.
Yeah. And the best part is bookkeeping and accounting is universal. Like tax laws in different countries and whatnot are not really like universal, but still you can apply the same concept across the board.
Amazing. And that's so helpful because I know creatives, that's like our number one thing. And it's the podcast, wow. It's called The Anxious Creative. Like this stuff makes us really anxious. And they say anxiety is based in thinking about the future too much. And I know when it comes to my finances, that's probably the number one thing I stress about in my business is thinking like, okay, this month's good, but what about next month?
Oh, I know.
And knowing to be able to see your finances and the way you communicated it and educated it, just like, it was a huge aha. Even though I thought I had a good handle on understanding my finances, it was amazing.
Oh, thank you.
So,
can I keep you? I'll just take you. I'll take her with me every day and be like, "Can you tell me how? Please, I'm feeling down."
And then you'll just look at my P&L and be like, "It's okay.
it's okay. We help each other."
So that brings me to my next question. What's the difference between a bookkeeper and an accountant? Because we a lot of the times just kind of lump them together. So tell us a little bit about the difference.
Yeah. So very good question. Because most people think bookkeepers are accountants and vice versa, but bookkeepers are the people who do your data entry and keep your accounting system organized and up to date. Accountants are the people who help fix errors within the accounting system. So for example,
I'm already lost.
It's like, what? Okay, but anyway, accountants are more of your high level people who, so the bookkeeper helps you prepare the financials, and then the accountant comes in, reviews the financials and says, well, this doesn't look right. Can you look into this particular transaction? Can you look into this particular month? And then she or he will advise on what adjustments or fixes you need to make in order to make it, make sense.
Yeah, like is there a lot of, can accountants kind of not move things around, but
bookkeepers
kind of, not break the rules.
No, not break the rules, but essentially
use the rules in your favor.
Yeah, exactly. So you're a bookkeeper.
I should be an accountant.
You can be an accountant now. Yeah. What am I doing here? Yeah. So bookkeepers are essentially like your people on the ground, like doing the work, and then accountants are the ones advising. So they're your advisors on how to either minimize tax or maximize profit. So they can see things like, okay, like I know that your bookkeeper did this. and now we got to make decisions. And so like maybe you should increase your pricing or decrease your pricing or stop spending so much money. So those are the things that your accountant...
But it's so much fun to
so
spend money.
I know. Yeah, like seriously, accountants...
It's a write-off. That's the thing we should talk about.
Oh yeah, okay.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. But essentially, like, your accountants are the ones helping you make these decisions.
Right. And so... Okay, my brain's going 10 different places because I'm a creative person.
That's okay.
But I hear, like, I don't even know if a lot of business owners understand what a write-off is, because you hear people, even when, like, I was talking to my bank one day and they were talking about all these fees and they're like, don't worry, it's a write-off. And I was like, what clever. And it seems like nice, like, as if, like, it's free money, but it's not. It's just, I know there's going to be some entrepreneurs watching right now because I didn't understand what a write-off was. I just thought, I can write this off. This somehow works in my favor. So I used, knowing that I was buying things for my business, that they were a write-off. I used that as an excuse to
just keep buying.
Yeah, exactly. To go, like, as a hairstylist, I'd be at the distributors. I'd be like, ooh, a new pretty brush. Ooh, fun new color to try. Yeah. Like, it's a write-off. Or like we talked about business at lunch. It's a write-off.
Yeah.
So I want you to, if you can, expand on that. What is a write-off? What do people need to be careful about just like, it's a write-off, you get a write-off, you get a write-off.
Everybody gets a write-off. Yeah. No, essentially, so this is such a good question. Write-offs, expenses, claims are all kind of like, when people talk about those terms, they're all talking about the same thing. So a write-off means you can write it off against your income, which means it's an expense. Right? So let's talk first about the expense part. So when you have write-offs, that means you're lowering your net income, which means a lower tax payable. Like, so you're
so if your business makes $100 and you write off a lunch that's $20, your business is only
taxed at the 80.
Is only paying tax on the 80.
Exactly. So if you did not have that write-off, then you pay taxes on the 100. But because you have the $20 write-off, you now pay taxes on the lower amount, which is 80. Right? So write-offs are great to save taxes.
Right. But it doesn't mean you make the money back.
But. Yeah. So if you know that I'm getting like very, very excited. So you know that saying, like, it's 100% off if you don't buy it.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like Black Friday sale, 50% off, but it's like, it's 100% off if you don't purchase anything.
Yeah, like, you don't, like, the couponers, like, I'm saving $20, but you, like, actually you're still spending money.
Like, yeah, exactly. So think of it as you're still spending the $20 in order to save potentially up to 30% of tax. That's it, right? So you spend 20 to save 30% on that, right? Whereas if you don't spend it at all, you get $20 in your pocket and you don't have to, like, $20 in full. Although you have to pay 30% of taxes,
you still get to choose what you spend.
Exactly. Choose what you spend. And essentially, like, so now I'm going to go from the expense side to the cash flow side. So spending the $20, you have no more $20. Cash flow, zero. Don't spend the $20, you have positive cash flow. $20 cash flow. So what do you prefer, having cash or having the tax benefit, right? So,
oh my goodness, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And, like, it's nice because there's sometimes, as an entrepreneur, there's some things that you could use that you need personally, but also your business needs. So it's great to have that as a write-off that you save on taxes.
Exactly.
But the misconception is people think having a write-off is somehow it's money you get back or something, and it's really not. It just means you save a little bit. And you have to be careful. Some accountants will say you can write things off that you can't write off. Yeah, I remember.
Yes, this is a different podcast.
Yeah,
different topic for another day. But yes, be careful.
So I know that there's a lot of people that are like, you know what, I know for myself, I was like, I don't want the headache. I just want to hire it out. Yeah. But I think the really important thing is to connect with Kristine and learn. So you need to learn it and understand it first. It doesn't mean that you have to do it forever, but it's really important to learn and understand because there aren't, not everyone is the most integral person, right? And there's not going to be people that do it the right way, or there's going to be people that cut corners. Yeah. And it depends on how comfortable you are with things, I guess. But I think bookkeeping and accounting is one of those things that you should just go buy the book.
Yeah,
right?
Pretty much. I'm also a creative accountant, so.
Yeah. But So really, really, like, you need to learn it, connect with her. But for those that are watching that are like, okay, I'm going to learn it, but I already know that I'm going to hire it
Yeah,
out.
and that's totally fine.
What should they look for when trying to find? Because I know, me as a hairstylist, I always say, like, I want my clients to research me because I don't do every kind of hair. Someone who wants a perm or someone who wants a bleach out or things like that, like, I'm not their person. But I know when you're outside of an industry, you often think, oh, like, all hairstylists can do all types of hair.
Yeah.
Or all bookkeepers will know, like, I'll just find one. And I've learned the hard way with different industries, learning, like, oh, no, they're not all the same. And I need to do my research, but I have no idea
where to begin.
To begin.
Yeah. So, I normally, whenever I meet with somebody, they usually have, like, they come up with a problem, right? Like, I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. I just want to hire out my bookkeeping, taxes.
I'm stressed, sweating.
I'm stressed, yeah. So, but essentially, like, if you're the type of business owner who just wants to dump everything on somebody, then look for, like, an accounting firm or a CPA, and they'll do everything for you. So full service, right? From start to finish. However, and I highly recommend this, if you're the type of person who wants to first learn about it, then get in touch with people like me, although I don't know if there's anyone else like me. But
just get in touch with her. You have to.
So essentially, I highly recommend you do get some education. So get that financial literacy out of the way by talking to an accountant who focuses a lot on educating their client and not just problem solving. So there's accountants who like to educate rather than fix errors. So I'm the type of accountant who likes to get it right the first time, even though it's may not be very realistic, but we try to learn how to do it properly the first time so that we don't spend a lot of time fixing errors at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. So most accountants, like 90% of accountants, focus on let me fix your errors and get this filing done. Right? Whereas there's some accountants who will educate you first and won't treat you just like another number in their client list.
Right.
In order to get you, set you up for success for many years to come, and you don't make the same mistakes every year. Yeah. So to get to your question, like what to look for, someone that you can really jive with. That's very important.
Like this lady right here.
Because honestly, I've heard so many horror stories about people just outsourcing it out.
Yeah.
But they have no idea what's going on, or they get nothing out of it except for the compliance part, compliance is just tax filings, right? So, look for somebody that you can talk to and won't treat you just like another number on their client list, and actually talks to you on a monthly basis, because most accountants, to be honest, they have so many clients, and it's kind of like a really well-oiled machine where it's an assembly line of just getting shit done.
Yeah.
And they don't have time to talk to you, or they'll charge you $1 million to talk for 5 minutes. But if you're looking for almost like a coach, look for someone who will talk to you more often.
Yeah, know your goals. Because I actually went to an accountant once, and he's like, Dawn, why would you want to grow your business? You're doing really well.
Yeah.
And I was like, why would I want to grow my business? And I just remember, he's like, you're doing great. Better than most hairstylists I know. And I was like, well, that's great to hear. However, I have bigger goals and dreams. And that was the end of that relationship, because if he's going to put a cap on where he thinks my business should be, I was like, I want someone to hear my goals and then be like, okay, how can we work? I'm not that they're going to be the ones making my plan for me.
Exactly. But you need to talk to an accountant who is interested on your long-term game. Yeah. So so currently, if you're in a loss position, if you're struggling with cash flow, someone who can help you get out of that, first of all, and then grow with you as you grow your business, right?
Love
it. So not just, don't just hire somebody to do tax preparation. Sorry, I'm an acronym lady. Yeah. But yeah, so someone who just does tax preparation, who will talk to you once a year, that's probably not your person, unless you want it to be your person. But yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Well, this has been so informative. I know I've every time I talk to you, I learn so much, which is amazing. And you actually make sense. Perfect. Sense. I'm probably getting that tagline wrong.
That's okay.
But for those people, I know everyone's like, where are you at? How do I connect with you? How do I stay in touch? Where can they find you?
Awesome. So you can find me at home. Well,
With our Starbucks.
With my Starbucks. So I'm on Instagram at Caritas Company and www.caritascompany.com. And where else?
And we'll have all these links in the show notes on the blog, on the podcast, everywhere, so you guys can click and find that stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's your main points of contact for me.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I had a blast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you guys,
so
leave
good.
a comment, leave a review. We want to know what you learned from this episode, what your favorite thing was, and obviously subscribe because I'm going to be bringing more of these amazing episodes to you. So thank you guys for listening in, for watching if you're on YouTube.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.
See you soon.
Bye.